Welcome back in, everybody, to a Tuesday edition of Birds 365. Hit that like button if you're in here watching the show. Appreciate all of Jacob Faithful showing out today. Been great all week. Hit that like button. We're lacking a little bit on Birds 365, so if we could pick those likes up, that'd be big. John, let's get into the football game that happened on Sunday. It's almost
What
like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
I have some good. I have some. I thought there were some things to build on in the game. I understand everybody was looking for a blowout. I understand you squeak by the measly Browns. I get it. I get all the pushback, but I did think there was a couple positive things to take away from the game. What were some of your takeaways just broadly before we get into offense, defense, and some of the specifics? What were some of your broad takeaways from the football game that ensued on Sunday?
They won. Yeah, so that's a positive in a week where nobody else won in the NFC East. So I think that's number one. Um, and it was ugly, but there were some positives. Jalen Hurts not turning the football over. After the game, I'm a little more disappointed in Jalen Hurts on the second watch than the first because of the two audibles. And one worked and one didn't. But I think they're both bad decisions. And it's always about going for the big play, right? Instead of just taking what's there. So some of that still exists. Doesn't matter when it's good, but when it was bad, it mattered. And it kept Cleveland in the game, essentially. Now, a bunch of things had to happen. Myles Garrett had to block a field goal. Rodney had to return it. But you're never in that position. If you just temper it back. And by the way, if Saquon didn't make the first mistake, Jalen Hurts didn't get the opportunity to make the second mistake. And if Saquon pass protects, maybe Jalen Hurts looks good. So bunch of other things, but I didn't like the decision to change the play at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, Jim
Either
Schwartz.
time.
He brought the pressure there too, Jim, and
Yeah.
it worked
Either
out.
time. And he saw the pressure coming, and again, it's still execution because if you pick up the blitz, who knows what happens on the back end? We'll never know. But either way, I don't necessarily. I'm talking about the decision, not the result. The decision, because the result, and I'm proud. A bunch of fans, you said, I had one. You said, you know what? That's probably not the best decision. Going for the kill shot there,
Right.
which worked. So that never happened. So kudos to the fans there that brought that up, because it's probably not the best decision consistently um, in that situation. Um, but the turnovers very good. Um, getting Grant Calcaterra involved, getting Jahan Dotson involved a little bit. Um, Very good. Typically, whether it's AJ or Devontae or in this case Dallas goes down, seems like Jalen gets hyper focused and doesn't trust the more of the role players, and he seemed to trust Grant Calcaterra. Now he's known Grant since Oklahoma, so maybe that factors into it. But so I thought that was a positive. Defensively, a lot of positive, but how much can you trust it? Cooper DeJean, I think it starts with, what took so long? Going to ask Big that today. And we know what he's going to say 20 days, blah, blah, blah. But you can see the talent. You can just see the juice he brought to the defense. That doesn't mean there's going to be, people are going to see him out there probably this week. And maybe the Giants are not equipped, but who knows if Malik Neighbors is back. And they're going to try to take advantage of them. And I'm sure there's going to be some issues in coverage. Pass rush showing a little bit. Trying to get Bryce up going. I think that's a positive. Overall, 10 quarterback hits, 5 sacks. Part of that is the opponent, but good to see some life there. And yeah, Mitchell continues to play well. So the draft, at least at the top, is looking very good.
Yep.
Early in the season. A lot of concerns with Nakobe Dean. He's not playing well.
Mm-mm.
He is not playing well. And I don't like when the quarterback in my defense is not playing well. And that doesn't mean they should have went with Devin White, but it does mean they should think about. And I'm not saying right now, but if things continue to go well with Jeremiah Trotter Jr. or Ben Van Sumeren behind the scenes, at some point you may want to start thinking about them at least a little bit.
Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. We'll talk about some offense. Good breakdowns from both sides of the ball there. Let's talk a little offense, though, with Jalen Hurts. You mentioned a lot of what he did there. I thought it was a step in the right direction for him this game. Thought he read the defense well. I thought he stepped up in the pocket. He handled the blitz as well. He played turnover-free football, which was a very encouraging sign. Many people are still critical of Jalen, as they always will be, but I thought that was a step in the right direction. That type of play from Jalen Hurts is much more conducive to winning football games for the Eagles than obviously turnover football and what he was doing in the previous 4 weeks. So I thought it was positive from Jalen Hurts. I was excited with what I saw from him. Am I overreacting a little bit to Jalen's game or what?
Well, I'm not as high. I think he defaults to, way too much outside the numbers when it comes to blitz, way too much, essentially go routes. I don't think that's a finished product. I think, you know, it's a delicate balance they're trying because he wants this autonomy. And I think it would sometimes it would be better to maybe scale it back a little bit. Um, and I think that would be more helpful. But he wants it. There's ego involved. It's very difficult. I don't know how you necessarily fix it other than pointing out, hey, maybe, think about the situation. Um, when we're talking about that accountability, like I said, they're, number one and number 26 will be up there on those particular plays. Um, and those are mistakes, and that's what you have to point out. And hopefully it registers, and hopefully um, not so quick to go in that direction. But this team fell in love with the big play, the explosive play during the 2022 season because they had so much success with it. The same thing happened with Kansas City, and they had to go through the hiccups um, post Tyreek Hill about learning how to play a different way. I think the Eagles are going through those hiccups. I don't know if they're going to come out the other side like Kansas City does. But I think they're still trying to learn how to play a little bit differently.
We'll see. John, your thoughts on Saquon? You mentioned him a little bit. I thought for sure it was his worst game as an Eagle by really a long shot. Didn't run the ball particularly well, and then he also made some crucial decisions in pass coverage and pass blocking. That ultimately bit the Eagles in the ass. Your thoughts on Saquon in this game?
Yeah, I don't think he was terrible by any stretch, but yeah, it was his worst game, and that
He
that
wasn't a difference maker.
that sequence was bad. That sequence was bad. Uh, they it was first and 10 from the Cleveland 40 with a minute left. Um, and the first play was a 9-yard slant to AJ Brown. So you're sitting there, 2nd and 1. You got 3 timeouts, and they throw a swing pass, and Saquon's got 4 or 5 yards gifted to him. And for some reason, he runs to the sideline like he needs to get out and stop the clock with 3 timeouts. And he doesn't even get to the yard to gain. And it's right in front of him. I mean, that's that's bad for a rookie.
Yeah.
That play. And then the next play, 3rd and 1. And again, all you have to do is tush push it. You can run it. You can do whatever. And you got timeouts to burn. Got plenty of time. And Jalen checks out and into an all vertical concept. And Saquon whips on the blitz by Owosu Koromoa. So that sequence was really bad. Um, and that's the worst he's looked as an Eagle, compartmentalized. Um, he got a bad grade from PF. He didn't have a good game, but it happens. He's not Superman, despite some people's assumptions. Uh, but yeah, certainly that was his worst game as an Eagle.
No doubt. AJ and Devontae were back. They obviously were a big impact on the game. Good to have those two guys out. But do you ever wonder, or do you have any fears that those two guys mask the deficiencies of the offense that could come back to
Oh
bite you late in
God,
the
yeah.
year? Yeah.
I mean, what? I mean,
I mean, sometimes I feel like Jalen.
sometimes he just let's throw it to AJ. Or the
Yeah. Single coverage done.
yeah, a lot.
I mean, you can get away with it when they're this good, but eventually that's going to bite you. No.
Yeah, I think, and that's why I think it was important to get Grant Calcaterra involved and Jahan Dotson at least a little bit. They got him a touch in the big touch in the passing game on the final drive, and it also what was really uh, um, a swing pass, but it turned into a run because it was backward pass. But you know, and maybe that's what Jahan Dotson is. He's a very good athlete, not the best route runner in the world. So maybe you let him handle some of the college shit, and you get him involved that way with the bubble screens and the swing passes, and um, maybe that's how you get him involved. But yeah, the more people you get involved, obviously a better situation. And it's never a bad thing to throw it to AJ when he's got man coverage, but yeah, there's no doubt it becomes a crutch at times.
Last point here on the offense, John, is the injury. Jordan Mailata, I think that's huge. I don't know. I know we don't have any update probably fully yet on him, but Nick did kind of throw something out there. At least a couple of weeks he used. I don't think he meant couple as in two. I think he just meant,
No,
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, he's going
I
to
think
be,
it's going to be a multi-week injury.
yeah.
And it depends, if it is two, I think that changes your thinking than if it's 4 or 6 or something of that nature. I think if it's 4 or more, you got to seriously think about moving parts, which I know Jeff Stoutland doesn't want to do, but Mekhi Becton is obviously your best um, left tackle available if Jordan Mailata is not there. So, um, then it becomes: are you better with Brad Johnson, left tackle, Mekhi Becton at right guard, or Mekhi Becton at left tackle and Tyler Steen at right guard? That becomes your question. I would lean towards the latter and move Becton outside, but that'll be something. When we get out there on Wednesday, that'll be the first thing we're looking for. What their plans are there.
Yeah, I don't think Mailata will be back for maybe the whole month of October, probably into November. Hopefully, he can be back by Thanksgiving. I don't know. We'll see when Mailata is back, but that's a big miss, John. I mean, losing
Oh,
Jordan
he's playing
Mailata.
great. He's been
Yeah,
playing great.
I know.
I
That's
gotta look
Jalen's
him
weak
up.
side. I mean,
I think he might be, I think PFF might have him graded as the best left tackle in football.
wow.
He's been playing at an all pro level. Um, and that is a big loss. He's only fourth, so fourth overall. Teron Armstead, number one, but he's played limited snaps, so I kind of throw him out. Trent Williams is number one, the real number one. It kind of always is. And then Penei Sewell's number 2, and he's number 3. Sewell probably, yeah, he's probably the best left tackle in football right now. And Trent Williams is obviously first ballot Hall of Famer. So it's not bad. It's not bad company.
Pretty damn good company. John, let's move into the defensive side of the ball. I thought they showed improvement this week. I know you played the Browns, and I know you played Deshaun Watson, but the defensive line showed up. I think the depth in the defensive line showed up a little bit with Jomo, Booker out there, Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. You mentioned them in your opening there, and then they didn't allow a touchdown. So I thought overall the defense. I'm not saying we're going to the Super Bowl because they held the Browns, but I'm saying there is something you can build on there more so than coming out of the Bucs game getting thrashed by Baker Mayfield. There was something you could build on there with the defense. Your takeaways defensively.
Yeah, I don't know how much to take out of that game because Cleveland is so poor offensively, to be honest. But it's good to get confidence. And have some success. I think that always helps. But and that, that's the thing with every I think this defense you see, I mean, the positive is they're gonna handle teams like this, and that's a positive. When you start getting to quarterbacks who, have a little bit better concept of what they're doing or what they're trying to accomplish, it's going to get more difficult. But that's the NFL in general. That's one of the things that always perplexed me. Oh, but they're not good against Tom Brady in his prime. Well, yeah, that's the point. It's hard. And the good defenses make sure they really shut down the bad offenses. So I think from that standpoint, it was very positive because they didn't let them breathe for the most part. A little bit of issue on that one drive where they got in the red zone, but you're talking about one drive. Anytime in the modern NFL, you hold an NFL team to one red zone trip, that's pretty good. And you're not giving up explosive plays because the Eagles didn't get in the red zone as well, but at least they had some explosive plays.
The explosive play part, you might be able to chalk that up to the Browns offense.
Well, I mean, it's bad offense right now.
Yeah.
And the quarterback is terrible, and they're playing the third string running back, and he gets hurt, and they got to go to a fourth string running back, and their second string center gets hurt, and they're down to a third. They're bad.
I seriously don't understand the Deshaun Watson thing, John. Like, I get that there's a lot of shit off the field that must be weighing on him, but the dude's talent evaporated. It's gone. It's not. It doesn't even look like it exists in there anymore.
Yeah, he's not good. He had one throw where I said, "Oh, that's nice." A slant to
The quick slant route,
yeah.
on 3rd and 11 or whatever it was. Yeah.
One throw where he looked like an NFL quarterback.
Even that was a little bit of a wobbler, but it was a good throw. It was, yeah.
Looked good in person.
Wasn't a tight spiral, but that's not the only way to judge a good throw. I'm just saying it wasn't. If that's his only good throw,
it was a tight window throw. I said,
it was a very tight window.
Who's this guy? And yeah, maybe that was just, sometimes when you play darts, you hit the bullseye by mistake. Yeah, he's not playing well, but it was good. I think anytime you get some confidence, I think is a good thing. And, Jordan Davis played better in limited snaps, but that's what he's supposed to do. Moro Ajomo showed up. I think had a very good game as a complimentary player. I think Nolan played better. I think Bryce played better. I think Sweat has been the most underrated defensive player on the team so far. Carter's Carter. He's good. It's just a matter of how good in the week. N'Kobe, terrible. Terrible. Boy, he's playing.
What's the solution there?
I don't know if there is a solution.
I don't know if look. I know Trotter's a rookie, and Ben Van Sumeren people don't think can play. I find it hard to believe they'd be worse in
I know
space.
Ben Sumer would be better in space. I know that.
Okay, well, maybe we'll get him out there then, because Nakobe Dean in space. What's further than what's the word that's the next level of a liability? That's what Nakobe Dean is.
He is right now, and I don't know if it's going to turn. Boy, let me look at his grades. Oh, he's
That
under
one, that
40.
one. There's one play that sticks in my head on Nakobe Dean in this game. I forget the play, and it was a third down. It was pretty long. The running back, I think it was the running back, caught the ball in space near the line of scrimmage, and they're out there on an island, and he just runs right around him on the sideline and picks up the first down. And I'm
Yeah, it
like,
ain't
Nakobe,
good. When he's in space, it is not good.
no, not.
81 linebackers graded. Nakobe Dean is number 78.
Who were the three behind him?
Raekwon McMullen from New England. Our old friend Kaiser White.
Ooh, he's behind. I thought he was playing okay.
No.
Clearly not.
He's been really bad in coverage, according, and the guy who beat out Devin White, KJ Britt, in Tampa Bay, which tells you about Devin. The two people that beat out the two people that beat out Devin White are
The bottom
78.
three linebackers in the league, two of them
Yeah,
beat out Devin White.
yeah.
Oh boy.
Uh,
Oh man. Poor Devin. Catching some strays this morning. Sorry, Devin. I didn't
Sorry,
mean
Devin.
it.
Well,
Yeah.
great guy too. Jesus, I
Hey,
hate
I
Devin.
respect the way Devin handled his business here with the way it ended and getting beat out by Nakobe Dean, who's not a very good linebacker. Maybe that's weighing on him, but I thought he handled it pretty well.
Yeah, I'm disappointed in the Kobe. Um, but yeah, I mean he's instinctive. When he's going straight ahead, he's fine. But when he's in space, it can get ugly, ugly.
No doubt. A couple super chats I want to get to. We'll get to another commercial break. We have about 53 minutes. Sorry, bad math this morning. 53 minutes left to go in the show today. Appreciate all the support in the chat. Hit that like button, everybody. We're lacking on Birds 365. Can we get to 150 likes during the live show today? That would be the goal. And I don't know if we'll reach it or not. Let me check where we are. I got Cooper DeJean on the thumbnail today, John, because I'm loving what I saw from Cooper out there.
Yeah. Yeah, as a punt returner too. I mean, he showed some juice. He's a really athletic guy. I think, because he's let's be honest, because he's a white defensive back. I think people don't understand how athletic he is. Um, his athletic testing coming up to combine was off the charts, off the charts. Um, and to get him out there, I think that's one where the Eagles waited too long. They knew where they wanted to go, and they were leaning on this 20-day absence in training camp like it was a catastrophe. I used to yell at fans who acted like it was a catastrophe. Evidently, the Eagles thought it was a catastrophe. Took him way too long to get him on the field, and I think you see right away what he can bring, especially as a blitzer, because Vic likes and forgot about the pass rush. Vic likes to run blitz from the slot to help out with run support.
Yeah.
And he's
Well, it
very
works
good
for him.
at it. Very
Yeah.
good at it. But yeah, I mean, his athletic testing was off the charts. And I always bring up Math Bomb, Keith Platt, Kent Lee Platt, and has, basically measured prospects going, back to 1987 since they've been compiling these numbers. When it talks just about athleticism and measurables. So we're talking about height, weight, bench press, vertical leap, broad jump, 40-yard dash, 20-yard split, 10-yard split, all this stuff, and measuring it against prospects, not only from that year, not only from the year Cooper DeJean is coming out, but historically. So he ranked, this goes back to 1987, 2,469 cornerback prospects from an athletic testing standpoint, measurables. Guess what number Cooper DeJean was?
Top 10.
Well, you're going too far. 28 out
That's
of
pretty good.
2,469. That's how athletic he is.
That's pretty incredible. That's pretty, and you're going to get it, John. You pointed it out. You're going to get it. Fleming, who's been in rare form, says I doubt him because he's a white corner.
There you have it.
Yeah, you're
28 out of 2,469, and to that, to Fleming, is it Brian? Brian Fleming?
Yeah.
What is it?
Brian, yeah.
To Brian, go look up his basketball YouTube clip.
Yeah. Cooper DeJean he's a baller for sure. He's got that athletic trait, no doubt about it. Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. Let's roll through a couple more super chats. We got Brian Garner with a good one. Good to see Jalen throwing the dots and then Dotson coming up with those catches. Maybe Jalen trust him more now. And I'll add one guy before I get John's reaction. Grant Calcaterra. Jalen seems to be finding Calcaterra more.
I brought up Grant a couple times. Yeah,
Yeah,
they played together at Oklahoma, so I think they have a bigger trust with DeJean. I mean, one was a swing pass, as I mentioned. The other was a big pass, though, near the sticks at the end of the game. So, and the swing pass ended up being a run because it was actually a lateral. But yeah, maybe that's what I said about Dotson. You know, maybe he can handle the college shit, as I like to call it, all the bullshit bubble screens and smoke screens, because he's not the best route runner in the world, but he's very athletic. So maybe get him involved with the manufactured touch stuff that always looks so ugly for the Eagles for some reason. Maybe he can get involved that way, but he's got to get better as a route runner if he wants to be more consistent.
Good stuff there. Garner, appreciate the super chat. It is a good sign to see Jalen finding some of those guys and throwing the ball to them. Let's go to Carver. Carver, appreciate your support as always, man. The king of the JAKIB chat is James Carver, everybody. And if you think it's otherwise, you are sadly mistaken. Carver is the king of the JAKIB chat. James Carver says, did you see a big shift of pistol or under center regardless of Jalen's preferences with Goddard out? Because Grant missed many blocks and runs out of shotgun are extremely predictable, thus requiring at least some blocking ability. That would be Calcaterra's deficiency. John, your response there to James.
Yeah, he's not the best blocker in the world. You know, but there aren't a lot of great blockers. That's what I always say when people say, hey, Saquon's a good pass protector. Yeah, he is compared to his peers, not compared to guys it's kind of a lost art. And you saw it with Jeremiah Owosu Koromoa. I mean, he didn't look like a good pass protector there. So, you know, the adage is, you know, lose slowly. That's generally what people look for when it comes to running backs and pass protection, and it comes to tight ends blocking. Just lose slowly. And Dallas loses slowly. Saquon loses slowly, and that's what you want. And Grant doesn't, but that's why you have Jack Stoll. So a little bit from that standpoint, maybe become a little bit more predictable. But I got to tell people, Jalen Hurts isn't going under center a lot. And you should not be wishing for that. He's not comfortable with it. He's not good at it. Why do people want to make him into something he isn't? That's why Nick, Shane, Brian, Kellen, they're trying to build an offense around what Jalen is comfortable with and Jalen is good at. That's why it looks the same.
Good stuff, Johnny Mac. Let's keep rolling. Suo Blaze with the super. Appreciated Suo. The solution was to not get rid of Devin White. Suo. Johnny Mac's about to
Come
hit you with
on.
it. Stop it.
Come on, dude. By the way, has anybody else signed Devin? Have I missed it? He's out there. I mean, you got to give it up. You got to give it up. He was the 5th overall pick in the draft. He got a $3.5 million contract. He's out. He's available. There's 31 other teams that could have had him back in March and offered him $4 million. There's 31 other teams that can have him free and clear. They don't have to do anything. You got to give it up.
People wanted to see him, John. They're not gonna give it up because we never got a chance to even see with our own eyes that he sucked.
Does that not register at all? That there's
It does to me. I'm just saying. You told me. I've talked to you enough that I had no expectations for Devin White coming into the year. I mean, I've read comments all off season long ripping you for being the biggest Devin White hater in the world, and you're this and this and this, and it ultimately came out to be true that you were right.
People got to get right, because now I defend the organization. I hate Devin White. It's ironic because I really like Devin White, and the organization's driving me crazy. Personally, I really like Devin White. Yeah, he's not a good football player. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and I do think that's interesting. You said that Nakobe Dean beat out Devin White in practice, right?
Pretty clearly. As Vic would say, it will become obvious. It became obvious.
Yeah, got it. I think people think about the practice and say, how do you beat somebody out in practice? I mean, we were told all offseason that Jalen Hurts had the greatest practices in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles because he didn't throw an interception. And then he came out of the gate and led the league in turnovers for the first 4 weeks. So I think people are just like, yeah, well, the same practices? That's where Dean beat out Devin, and they don't put as much merit on it as they maybe should, or
well, it definitely should. I mean, look, nobody's saying, I mean, as evident as I cautioned people when I would say that Nakobe's going to win the job, I would say pretty consistently, I'm not comparing him to Fred Warner. I'm comparing him to what the Eagles have.
Fred Warner might be Defensive Player of the Year this year with Hutch out.
Oh, it should have been Aiden. Yeah. But
yeah, well, Aiden, I think Aiden was up to like 8 sacks already.
He was going to win. I predicted it. That's why I was so invested. But unfortunately,
well, he's a great player. He is really a good player. I hope he heals up well. Obviously, they're an NFC foe, but still,
terrible injury. But
yeah, those ones are tough to watch for me.
Yeah, Fred Warner's unbelievable. And I would say that all the time. I'm not saying he's good. I'm saying he's the best the Eagles have. And Vic obviously felt the same way because it was obvious. And he was significantly better by the end of training camp. But yeah, that's how you decide things in the NFL. How they do in training camp. Does it matter? No, what you do on the field in regular season games, but you're not going to say, oh, let's see what they do in regular season games after watching them for a full summer. You make the best informed decision you can make. You're not going to give a guy an opportunity because he was the 5th pick in the draft 5 years ago. Give it up. I mean, it's not a stasis.
I didn't see this. Suo did a double whammy, John, and I didn't even see it. I should have read it before you started going off on Devin White. White was clamping Saquon on wheel routes all off season. Played better than Dean in preseason. He's bigger, stronger, and faster than Dean. No effing chance. Dean
is this Devin? Is this Devin? By the way, I don't know Suo Blaze, but I didn't see it next to me, so I don't know how you know White was clamping Saquon on wheel routes. By the way, he was. So I'm not saying he wasn't, but I'm just laughing at the certainty these people have Um, when you talk about it in if you watch Saquon Barkley in practice, you go, well, how's this guy going to open on a wheel route? Because everybody clamped on him. Zach Bond clamped on him. Devin White clamped on him. Obviously, wasn't going full bore. But anyway, besides that, um, look, I didn't make the decision. Vic Fangio made the decision. I just use Vic's quotes. It will become obvious. It became obvious to people who were there every day and people who paid attention every day. Not the first snap. By the end of training camp, again, they went through this. The whole philosophy was they did not want to hand the job to Nakobe Dean again after what went on the year prior. They didn't want to just anoint him the starter. They wanted him to earn the job. So everybody was focused on the first rep. By the time the last 10, 14 days of training camp, the totality of first team reps, Nakobe was getting more. So it was obvious for people paying attention that he was going to win the job. Again, did he beat out Fred Warner? No. The Eagles did what the Eagles did. They didn't ask me. They didn't dress him. They tried to trade him. They didn't want him. Don't blame me. Blame the Eagles.
Suo, appreciate it, brother. Alexander Harris, his member chat says, you think the defensive line playing tighter in nickel will help the run defense instead of having the defensive end line up in New Jersey, New Jersey and Ohio?
Well, obviously the scheme plays a lot of off man coverage. Yeah, and it gets frustrating for fans. I get it. Do I think playing tighter in the nickel will help the run defense? No. Nickel's about run fits, and if basically your job is to be in the right gap in the right situation and bid it correctly. Look, if they get, if you have a pulling offensive tackle in space who locks onto a nickel, there's not a nickel in the world that's going to survive that. Especially if it's Trent Williams or Panay Sewell or some of the people we were talking about. Ironically, Avante was always very good as a run fit player. That was one of his strengths as a slot player. And, sometimes you get beat up because he's not the biggest guy in the world. I don't think Cooper's at that level yet, but where Cooper can help, as I mentioned, Vic likes to blitz off the slot and run support at times to try to blow things up, try to disrupt timing of run plays. I think he helps there greatly. I think he's got a knack for it, and I think you'll see that as the season develops. I think he'll become a bigger force on those run blitzes, and you kind of saw it a little bit in the Minnesota preseason game when he was out there playing. He used it a few times in that game, and I remember talking to Zander about it on the post game show we did. Because he wasn't great in coverage, but he
Right.
did show up in that aspect, and I mentioned that, and that's a big part of a big thought process when it comes to slot players. So I think he'll help there, but it'll be a work in progress. He's never played. I think people don't realize he was an outside corner 90% of the time at Iowa. 90 plus. It was over 90%. So all of this is new to him. And that's part of the reason why the Eagles took so long getting to it. So he's still learning the nuances of the position.
Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. Did you have an issue with the run fits in this game specifically versus the Browns? I mean, they didn't have Nick Chubb, and I think they still ran for over 100 yards.
Yeah,
And
Pierre
at
Strong.
some
I was like,
moments, it looked like those
get
dudes
the
could just.
ball to Pierre Strong.
Yeah, I mean, he was just running at will in some moments there.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to let the people on a little secret. The Eagles linebackers are not good. They got one guy learning. I just said one guy learning the position, one guy playing poorly. So they make some mistakes. It's almost like if you don't allocate assets to a certain position, you might not be very good at a certain position. The Eagles don't value linebacker. And, sometimes you can overcome it. Like if you develop an undrafted guy like TJ Edwards, which, people still say, no matter how good he plays, they still say he stinks because he was undrafted. And no matter how bad Devin White plays, he's still great because he was the number 5 overall pick. I can't help those people.
Give me TJ Edwards. Oh man, that would help this defense so much.
The people in Chicago think he's a monster.
Yeah, they're going to extend him, I bet.
Yeah, I mean, he's outplayed the guy they paid more. But
speaking of Chicago, looking like Ryan Poles has done a good job. You give a guy a little bit of time and let him start to work his magic over a few years. That team looks pretty good right now.
Yeah, I'm not going to give Ryan Poles credit. I mean, that's more of a Sam Hinkie. Yeah, that's more of a Sam Hinkie thing. Like you're bad for so long, and all of a sudden you wake up and you finally hit on a quarterback, or
But
at
I
least
think he made some
very
key
early.
moves, John. I think some of those key moves. I mean, fleeced the Panthers with that. Used all those picks to really build out the rest of the team. He's got weapons. I mean, I think he did a good job. I hear what you're saying. I mean, yeah, if you lose for 20 years straight.
What the freak did you do with Justin? They ruined Justin Fields. Then they,
Was that Poles, Justin Fields?
Well, that he came in. I'm not sure.
I don't think he drafted him though,
No,
right?
he might have been after, but they
Yeah.
made the decision. Oh, we're going to keep Justin Fields when they could have had, could have made the CJ Stroud.
Well, they weren't sold on Bryce Young, and it turns out they might have been right about that.
Well, they should have, yeah, but they should have been sold on CJ Stroud. So which way do you look at it?
Well, they garnered not only the quarterback, but they also got a litany of assets with it. You
all right, you had the number 1 pick back to back. All right, great. Hey, great, Ryan Poles.
John, you're a tough cookie to crack today, my friend.
Well, you shit on that fan base because I know the Chicago fan base well. You're awful, 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 awful. You got a defensive head coach. You make a bad decision. Everything that organization does, they haven't a quarterback since Sid Luckman. You give a little bit to Jim McMahon, obviously. But long-term successfully, that's why they're so excited by Caleb Williams. And by the way, let's wait till Caleb Williams gets to Brian Flores. Let's see how that looks.
Yeah, but he's still a rookie. I mean, he looks pretty good for a rookie, even if Brian Flores shuts him down.
I would have taken Jaden Daniels. I said it from day one. I'd still take Jaden
sticking to his guns. I like Jaden Daniels too. I think Jaden Daniels is better, but it looks like both the quarterbacks.
No, I'm not giving and the Carter stuff. Like you're afraid of your shadow. Oh, we can't bring Jalen Carter in here. Did you even talk to the kid? I just talked about Jalen Carter. Yeah. Not a bad guy. You had a chance to take him
you
twice.
Can't leave out the context that you talked about in that moment. Howie Roseman has the leash to be able to make a move like that. When you're Ryan Poles, you probably don't.
No, that's how he thought of it. I said he's scared of his shadow. I mean, show the confidence. I can get this kid on the straight and narrow. He's by far the most talented. I don't have to take him a number 1.
Maybe he makes that decision now with some confidence though, because they're winning football games. They weren't winning football games at that time.
Yeah, and they would have won more if they drafted him. No, I'm not giving Ryan Poles any credit other than Sam Hinkie level credit.
Well, I mean, with this logic, you could criticize Howie Roseman. You got A.J. Brown, but you missed on fucking 4 receivers to get to A.J. Brown. Where were all those assets? We would have been a better team.
Oh, by all means, let's compare Howie Roseman to Ryan fucking Poles. I credit. Yeah, I'll be all in for criticizing Howie Roseman, but don't even put those two guys in the same freaking sentence.
Oh man, John, you're very formative there. I love it, man. I love it. You're on demon time, John. You're taking nothing today.
But because I'm like, all right, yeah, but they drafted freaking Darnell Wright. They had the number 1 pick in the draft, and they went down and they got Darnell Wright. Now everybody makes fun of Carolina because Carolina made the wrong decision. Now, if Carolina gets CJ Stroud, who knows? I say all the time, everything's not a vacuum. And they gave up a bunch, and the Bears get a bunch of assets. Good luck with your assets, and they've done a good job, Sam Hinkie. All the credit in the world. You still end up, and you had a chance to get Jalen Carter twice, by the way, and you end up with Darnell Wright because you're scared of your own shadow. And it didn't even have to be Jalen Carter. It could have been Bijan Robinson. It could have been,
you would have killed them for drafting Bijan, John, as a team that's not built out, spending a first on a running back.
And Bijan hasn't been, he's okay.
He hasn't lived up to the
running back isn't, relevant. But you get my point. Come on. I'm not giving anybody credit for being bad over and over and over and over and over again. And all right, you got a talented kid at number 1 overall. And let's see, in that division, especially, because Detroit's going to beat the brakes off them. Green Bay's going to beat the brakes off them. Minnesota, I'm still not sold on, but they're better.
I hear you, but John, Ryan Poles became the GM in 22. This is his 3rd season. You can't put every bad decision by the Bears organization on Ryan Poles.
No, but I can put. I'm like you're surrounding. First of all, you say you want to build around Justin Fields. You didn't have to say that.
No, I guess not. But you get it. There's politics in this league, man. There's semantics. There's bullshit. You got to keep the value of the player high. You got to keep the locker room intact until you get to where you want to be.
Even,
I mean, come on, there's a lot more that
even Caleb Williams, you haven't surrounded him with the ecosystem for long-term success. So it starts with that. If I have a young quarterback, I'm surrounding him with not Matt Eberflus. I don't know. Before it was Luke Getsy, which was a joke. I mean, I don't know how else to say it.
Oh, John, you're cracking me up this morning, my man. You're in rare form.
Shane Waldron is their offensive coordinator. I'm sure he's a fine guy. He's got, he had a cup of coffee with McVay. So I'm sure he's he was the offensive coordinator in Seattle. So I'm sure he's got a better feel for it than what they've had there before with the Luke Getzys of the world and people like that. But and they're having some early success, but I would temper the history of that organization. And you're right, Ryan Poles is not responsible for that. But yeah, I'm not giving somebody credit for going back to back number 1 overall pick. Go fuck that guy.
I'll give Ryan Poles a little bit of credit.
This ain't the NBA. This ain't the NBA. You don't have to tank in the NFL. And when you do tank it, you usually screw it up because, Bryce Young's of the world. It ain't easy to develop quarterbacks. And hopefully they do develop Caleb Williams. If any city deserves a quarterback, it's Chicago. But I wouldn't go overboard.
Yeah, I'm not ready to either. Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. One more super chat. We'll get to our break and then close out the show on the other side. Suo Blaze checks in again, follows up on his $10 Devin White super. Suo, you might set John off the edge this morning, man. He said, just because Vic made the decision doesn't mean it was the right decision. Vic has already made bad decisions in 7 weeks.
It's a Suo. It's not Sua. I'm thinking Suo Peta. Dude, how do you explain the 31 other teams? Free, you don't even have to give us a super chat, just regular chat. How do you explain the 31 other teams?
It's true.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Nobody wants them. I'm sure he'll get another chance at some point. I'm sure somebody will get injured. You'll get an opportunity to see it, maybe. And maybe that'll put it to rest for you. But Vic doesn't I've criticized Vic a lot. I criticized him for taking so long with Cooper DeJean. I criticized him for the scheme as a whole. He's not the only one. All you had to do was give Devin White $4 million and he would have went somewhere else. Nobody wanted him in the spring. He's now free and clear. He can sign with anybody at any time. Again, I do expect him to land somewhere as injuries pile up around the league. So I'm not saying he's completely done. But nobody was jumping up and saying, "Oh, the Eagles finally let Devin White go. Let's go out and sign him." There's 31 other teams, not just the Philadelphia Eagles.
It's a fair point there from Johnny Mac. Let's get to our commercial break. Great stuff from everybody. Can we get the 150 likes in the chat, everybody? We have 141. You guys have been killing it today. We were slacking a little bit on Birds 365, so we picked that up today. Let's get the 150 here on the show. We got about 25 minutes left to play. Suo follows up. Let's see. Because his mentals were not right, he said to himself, we should have gave him a chance.
He started I believe at one time, he didn't get the first. He got a big time chance. And by the way, if he would have embraced special teams, he might still be here. But if you're going to be a backup linebacker, you got to play special teams. Unfortunately for Devin, he's been a star at LSU, obviously, didn't play special teams. I was drafted number 5 overall, didn't play special teams. If you're a backup linebacker, you have to play special teams. Not comfortable with it. It's ironic because he is a good athlete. That's the best part of his traits that he has left. He's not the most instinctive player. Freelances way too much. Not a special teams player. So you're either going to be a starter or you're out. And he's out. I don't know. Maybe somebody gets hurt and they bring him back because he is a good guy and he handled things professionally. And maybe you'll get a chance to see him play. And then I don't expect the apology, but you'll see.
John, real quick, before we get to the break, your thoughts on the Reddick stuff. He signed Drew Rosenhaus, the big super agent.
Hopefully Drew talks some sense in that.
I'm sure he will, but Drew will also get the deal done. That's one of the things that Drew will do. We talked about Detroit earlier. Some people's mentioning it in the chat. They lost Aiden Hutchinson, and they might feel like they have a chance. I wonder if they'd make a move. It was reported
they
that
should feel like they have a chance because they're the best team in football with Aiden Hutchinson. I firmly believe that.
Yeah.
I mean, they definitely have a chance.
Yeah.
Now,
I wonder if they'll make a move for him and make a trade for him.
Boy, I don't know. They signed somebody today off Cincinnati's practice squad, I think. That's a big injury. You can't replace Aiden Hutchinson, but I get why people are making that connection. Play a little bit of a different scheme, that they need more of a traditional defensive end like Hutchinson versus what Hassan is. But yeah, Hassan, a lot of people don't want to get involved with that, I imagine. And, I don't think Detroit's looking to pay an edge rusher $20+ million or whatever Drew's going to try to get for him. But I get why people are going that direction. I think they're going to wait and see how they persevere. And it'll start this week. If they show up, they're playing Minnesota this week. I forget where the game is. If they play well in that game, I think they're going to be fine. If they start having some issues, maybe they start thinking about things. But I'm not sure if he's a fit for that scheme.
Yeah, doesn't play the run well, so we'll see what ends up happening there. In other news, in the NFL world, Jerry Jones is melting down on his weekly radio interview. So all the Eagles have to do is handle some business and keep Nick Sirianni on the rails. And shit, the team is going to win. Is going to at least get close to winning the NFC East, depending on how Washington pans out. But Dallas has fallen apart at the seams. So we'll get to our commercial break. Appreciate everybody being here. Hit that like button. Did we get up to 150 yet? We got 150, 152 we're up to. Appreciate all of you guys for getting us to 150 likes. If you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. We'll be right back in 3 minutes on Birds 365.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.